Let's get it. Kody versus Kody. Now, anybody who likes a good story understands that any quality story, good story, whether it's a movie, TV show, radio show, book, comic book, whatever, it all revolves around the conflict. And from what I see, I wanted to put this particular idea or concept in terms of these particular characters within this family dynamic or this family drama. Because essentially that's what Sister Wives is. It's a drama show. And as I'm watching this cast of characters, I wanted to pit which character has that arch nemesis, that rival that causes them to either change or become something different or create some kind of catalyst which causes an event to occur. I wanted to do Kody first. And when I look at it, Kody is Cody's actually worst enemy. And I'll say this, there's a reason why I put the two of them together. Kody, old Kody from season 1 really through season 6 versus Kody of season 17. Mr. Knife in the Kidneys, and I had to struggle to love you because I couldn't bear to look at you. Like that Kody. Mr. Evil Kody. Right? So essentially, I'm taking the innocent man-child Peter Pan Kody and placing him against the old grizzled dirty bastard Kody of season 17. And I wanted to see how it shook out. And more importantly, I wanted to see how Kody went from where he was to where he is. I have a whole series planned, but I gotta know if you guys really like this or it's something you dig. So if you really enjoyed, give me a thumbs up on the video. Let me know this is something you want to see. I have an idea for Robin and who her arch nemesis is, and it very well may not be the sister wife that you think it is. So if it's something you like, give me a thumbs up or leave it a comment down below. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, I would ask that you consider subscribing. It's easy to do. It helps the channel out. It helps me out. And hey, who doesn't want to help a brother out? So go and give me that HBO special by clicking that subscribe button, ringing the bell for notifications. You'll be notified when I upload new videos, as well as soon, very soon, hopefully, when I start going live. And by the way, HBO special describes the help a brother out special. So go ahead and give me that subscribe. Anyway, when we talk about Kody and how he changed, I think the evolution of Kody and the character that he portrays on the show changed with one specific instance, one specific question that was posed to Kody, and he couldn't take the answer. This goes back to season 6, episode 13, where Kody is being asked by his dear friend Bret and Janelle's new trainer, who runs the family.
Do you, ever have the ultimate say?
Ever.
Or do they just run you back and forth until you get tired and then they decide what you're gonna do?
You guys both know I'm pretty much an alpha male, but I've had to learn to chill.
You guys pretty much know I'm pretty much an alpha male. No, obviously they don't. If they have to ask you the question, they don't know anything. So they don't believe you're an alpha male. They don't think you run the family. The one trainer guy was like, yeah, everything is run by committee. He even threw that in there. Well, while my man is asking the question, just to ask, do you run your family or do your family run you? And fellas, let's stop the show right there. I'm going to give you a quick tip. Don't go out with your friends, and there's ladies too, don't go out with your friends and have your friends be the reason why you find yourself by yourself, okay? Because while you sitting there with your friends, you can talk all the smack you want to. Bret will sit there and talk, I pretty much told my wife that I run stuff, you know what I mean? But why didn't you have that conversation with your wife sitting there? Tell your wife, because it very well may be the case. Bret, he seems like one of those type of frat bros that would take that position, and I run things no matter what happens. I'm in charge and I'm the boss man. And those aspects or those characteristics of his personality may be things that Kody admires and wants to emulate within his relationships. The problem is, bruh, you have to look at your relationship and how your relationship functions and works, because you are involved with not one but 4 different women. So the way Bret treats his wife, maybe Bret can treat his wife that way, but you can't. It's kind of like, I hate to say this, but I mean, realistically, it's kind of the difference. You have to know your limitations or who you are, okay? If you're standing there at a nightclub and a beautiful woman walks by and you young Brad Pitt, you could walk up to her and be like, hey, buy me a drink and let's dance. And she might do it. But if you're not young Brad Pitt and you walk up to her, excuse me, buy me a drink and just stop me right there, player. Don't talk to me, don't look at me, and don't try to smell of me. Don't even think of me as I walk by. You know what I mean? So you have to judge where you are and who you're dealing with. Because you may not be that one. Cody's not that one. You're not Bret. And you're not dealing with Bret's wife. So you have to deal with the hand that you're dealt. Don't let people get you messed up, is what it all comes down to. And this whole conversation, it actually reminds me of like a Key and Peele comedy skit where they were saying that, the guys would talk, two married guys would talk behind their wife's back. They're like, yeah, man, I said, look here. You better do what I tell you to do. He said, that's right, because I looked at my wife, I said, look here, you chick. We call him chick. So that one question, I think, kind of set Cody off, because prior to that, Cody had always presented himself as kind of the meek and mild, go-along guy who's just kind of there, all shucks, all gee willikers, Wonder Bread, I don't know what's going on type Cody. And this is pretty much how Cody presented himself in season 1 through 6, where he was walking around and he was being Mr. All Shucks, good guy, and I'm got to get my wife's input. We do everything by committee, because at the end of the day, the whole purpose of them being on this show was so that they could put forward and spread the idea of the polygamous propaganda. That we aren't what you think we are. We aren't oppressing women, because a part of any oppression comes the idea and the significant events of control and power. And if Cody is saying that he has ultimate control over these women and he has power over them, then he falls into the thing that everybody thinks about polygamy is anyway, the stereotype, the assumptions that are made about these types of relationships. And he was trying to actively destroy or dismantle that assumption. And then the wives were a part of it too. I'm not excusing them. But he actively did it. That's why season 1 through 6, and even later on, as the wives were talking, oh, we're strong, independent women, and we have our own minds, and da. And Cody would always support that. And up until that point, and that moment when Bret asked that question, Cody was going along with it. But there's something that broke in Cody because he couldn't handle it. A lot of people will say because he's a narcissist. Others will say that he's an egomaniac. I think that there could be a combination of those two, but I also think that either way you go, Cody has a very, 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 very fragile, paper-thin ego. And he couldn't handle the idea that these men are looking at this show and seeing him as anything other than a man's man, alpha man, Superman, as opposed to the beta male simp who's going along with whatever his wives want him to do, and they vote in, and there's more of them than there are of him. So if they have 3 votes, they overrule him. He doesn't get to make the ultimate decision as the leader. So when they asked that question, this is what Cody had to say in response.
Why didn't I just macho up and go, yeah, sure, I'm in charge of my family?
Nobody believed it.
Everybody knows that I am in charge of my family.
Nobody knows that.
Manage it subtly. I can't go around with women who are strong, right, and boss them around.
No, you can't. And if you're not that guy, you're not that guy. Because you're gonna get yourself messed up trying some stuff that you don't have no business doing. What is that? Don't go chasing waterfalls. Stick to the rivers and the lakes you used to. TLC. But he needs to stick to the waterfall. Stick to them gutters. Stick to the sewers and the and the potholes you're used to, player. That has always been Cody's downfall. Like, he's always trying to portray himself as something other than what he is. Like he sees something and he wants to be that thing. So he thinks that this will be accepted by the masses, by the people who watch this show. So he actively tries to become that thing. He's afraid that people are going to look at him as though he's an oppressor, that he's oppressing these women and abusing these women. So he tries to act meek and mild and tries to act humbled and beneath and simp-like and, oh, I'm so scared to talk and give my opinion. But the moment it starts to seem like, hey, it's working, and not just the ladies are thinking that you're doing this, but your peers, your men friends are thinking that you're that way. Now all of a sudden, Cody's got to put his foot down and he's got to establish that he's a man's man. And one of the things that's always been kind of trippy about that is that he took the position early on that either he leads or one of his wives take the lead, and he can't have that. That could never happen, according to Kody. That could never happen. And he said that a couple times throughout the series. And it kind of makes sense in a way because you don't necessarily want, the ladies, arguing amongst each other. You want them to have a friendship and be equal amongst each other. I think that most relationships work out better if there is equal respect amongst all parties involved. But as you start to add members to your family and how you negotiate that becomes extremely complex and very well require somebody to take more of a leadership role in order to guide the family because realistically, huge democracies where everybody gets a vote doesn't necessarily work as well as having a more of a republic where you have elected representatives. So if they all elect or choose one person to lead or make decisions, then it becomes a lot more streamlined. So that's understandable. But even with that, Kody takes the position that, oh no, it's not because I'm a man, because that would make me a misogynist. I lead because I have all the skills. And clearly that's not the case. Kody has zero skills as far as leadership is concerned. But let's take a listen to what Kody had to say with regard to how he was chosen to be the leader.
I guarantee you I'm in charge.
No, you're not.
But it's not because of my anatomy. It's because of my leadership.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. That's so ridiculous. It's because of my leadership. What leadership? What are you talking about? The only reason why technically you would be in charge of anything is because under a misogynistic, patriarchal society, you would be in charge because you would have an XY chromosome and you were born a boy. But other than that, you are not displaying any leadership qualities. And even that gender role doesn't make sense because when it comes to things like business, finance, when it becomes to direction of the family, how resources should be allocated, the person who is actually most qualified is not the XY person, but is actually Janelle. Janelle is the person who is more qualified to talk about the direction of the family in the financial sense. When it comes to the emotional awareness, emotional intelligence, the most likely person would be Christine. For her to be able to deal with and nurture the children and the family members that she needed to, that requires an extreme large or extremely high emotional IQ level. And Christine is that person. So you have a lot of key components. And of course, I can go through Robin and Mary, but you have in these individuals, you have a lot of key components that you as a leader should be able to tap and use as resources if you had true leadership ability and the ability to see the strengths of the people that you are serving. Because as a leader, your job isn't to argue people about and demand people about, but your role as a leader is to serve those who follow you. That's what a leader does. A leader isn't somebody who just gets to make decisions and then the people who are under you or the people who you serve or the people who are following you have to execute those decisions and then they have to deal with the fallout from your poor decisions. You have to make the decision. You have to pick the right people to carry out that decision. And then ultimately, you have to take full responsibility for whatever outcome happens. So if something good happens, if you ever at work, you notice that credit line is long as hell, but that blame line is short. And it's usually one person in the blame line. And if you're the leader, that one person is you. And that's the hard part of being the leader and the hard part of making those decisions, because you can delegate authority, but you can't delegate responsibility. And that's what a leader does. And that's why I don't think Cody's a good leader. But as he talks about, even in season 17, as he discusses the idea of him being the leader, the one in charge, the one making the decisions, he says that when he formulated this family all by himself, without Mary apparently, because, how could you add wives, with your current wife? I mean, that makes no sense, right? Dumb. So when you and Mary, but to Cody's description, when he decided that he was going to get married, he talked to Janelle and Christine, the two people he had a problem with, and said, look here, you guys have to run your will into mine so that we can decide how to do the family. And this is how I see Kody. This is pretty much what Kody became. So let's take a look at what he had to say in season 17 during the tell-all when he was describing the wives coming into the family and the role that he would play within that family.
Christine asked to be in the family, Janelle asked to be in the family.
Right.
And basically I said, if you want to be in the family, then you have to understand, I need you to run your will to mine.
What?
Are you okay with that? Because I'm going to be the head of the family. I've got 2 wives. I have to take care of. I have a very big picture. Will you understand that? Will you help me with it? And they're like, yeah, pick me. I mean, literally.
Idiot. That's the most insulting thing. Like, aside from the ridiculousness of what he said and the disrespectful nature, because that kind of pisses me off as I watch it. I'm going to be honest with you. The disrespectful nature of what he said, that aside, and it's a hard aside. We're going to put that aside, though, as a side dish. But when you listen to what he said and how he described it, oh, yeah, they came to me begging to be part of my organization, and I had to pretty much vet them and decide whether I was going to allow them to join. The reality of the situation is that the Kody that we saw in season 17 was the Kody who eventually became the Kody he always wanted to be. Kody always aspired to be that guy, the guy who had these women coming to him begging to be a part of his situation because he was so great, so wonderful, and so wondrous that these women decided to choose him to be a part of his family because his family was the family everybody wanted to join, apparently. The broke brown family. Like, who doesn't want to sit there and struggle eating 3-day-old bread, moldy bread, with their kids trying to figure out where their next meal is coming from? Who doesn't beg to get into that situation? And that's the reality of it. And I'm not even trying to take a financial swipe at him. What I'm saying is you had 3 women who are willing to put all that aside. Forget fame, forget fortune, forget chasing all the money, because where he is now, he thinks that all women chase after you because of what you have. That's where he is now, because that's where he always wanted to be. The only thing I'm afraid of is poverty. And he said that before. The only thing I'm afraid of is poverty, because money is so important to me. And when I get the money, the fame, and the riches, then I'm going to get all the itches. You understand what I mean? And that's where he is. And it's such a short-sighted way of thinking. The way that I would say the person that he became is the person he always wanted to be is because of the way he talked about the admiration of being the ultimate leader, being the ultimate decider, about having these women coming to him and begging to be a part of his great situation. These are the red flags that so many people talk about. How to recognize red flags. It's not the overt conversations where he comes to you and says, yes, you will run your will into mine, and I will lead the family as the patriarch. Like, that's not what you're looking for in a red flag. Obviously, if a guy says that, then you need to just don't walk, run. But what you need to listen for, and one of the things that you listen for, aside from seeing how he treats other people, seeing his actions, is listening to him and talking to him about his dreams. What does he admire? Who does he admire? And if the people that he looks up to are people that you find unsavory, that is indicative that if he's ever in a situation where he can do something, he will do it. This reminds me of a person who isn't faithful because they're loyal to their wife. They're committed to their commitment in their relationship with their wife. They respect themselves and don't want to be a cheater. I respect my character, so therefore I don't want people to see me as a cheater, because that to me would be taking away from my character. They don't see it that way. That's not why they're not stepping out. The reason why they don't date people or see people outside of their relationship is because they can't. The problem with that, the end result is that in both situations, neither person or neither guy or girl is cheating. Because, for different reasons, but they're not cheating. But in that same situation, if they ever find themselves having the opportunity to do it, the first guy who's committed to his wife, committed to his reputation, and sees himself as a certain way and doesn't want to be that guy, he won't cheat. The guy who wants to cheat but can't cheat, if he's given opportunity, he's definitely going to cheat. Now, what I want to focus on now is there was a point, like I said, there was the Peter Pan Cody, all shucks, all gee golly whiz Cody, and the Cody that he pretended to be. Then season 6 happened, where he was introduced to that one question. And that one question kept coming up about the power. Who runs the family? How do they run it? And Cody's been kind of going back and forth with it. But every now and again, even in season 7, when Cody was asked about who runs the family.
When have I been in charge of this family? When? When have we ever not made every single decision by committee? When?
I never ran this family. I've never been in charge of nothing. You guys won't let me make any decisions. Because clearly every woman wants to follow a guy who throws a temper tantrum. That's what they look for in leadership. You know what I mean? That's a hard pass option right there. The guy, I don't want to be on a plane and the pilot is up front like, they didn't give me coffee. They won't never let me be in charge of landing this plane. Do not let that guy in the cockpit. If you're going to let him in the cockpit, let me out. I don't care if we're 1,000 feet off the ground. Let me out. I'm done. Right? It's safer. I'd rather walk. Cody tries to go back and forth. And there was one point where he tries to go back to the kinder, gentler, milder Cody. And I think part of that reason why is because Cody and Robin have consistently been struggling with their approval ratings in the Sister Wives cast. Consistently throughout this series, Cody and Robin have always been at the bottom of the likable cast members of the Sister Wives group. So Cody, in an attempt to try to appease everybody, tries to go back to the whole idea that he doesn't run the family. And I think he's being honest in that respect. He doesn't run the family. And everything was being decided by consensus. But he doesn't like it. And he wants to change it. But he uses that as a presentation so that it's more acceptable to the audience members. Let's take a listen to what he had to say in season 7's tell-all as he was being asked about who runs the family and how these decisions are made.
As far as who's the boss, do you really want to be the boss?
Quiet, trying to figure it out.
Do I really want to be the boss?
Yeah. You want to be the boss? You want to be the boss?
To me, it's not a matter of wanting to be the boss. If I wanted to be the boss all the time, I'd have married different women.
Sorry. And that's kind of the cop-out answer. Do I want to be the boss? If I wanted to be the boss all the time, I'd marry different women. He's so kind, he's so gentle, he's so sensitive. No, he's not. He's trying to play us. And it was clear he was trying to play us. Because he wants to be the boss. He's just not the boss. He wants to be the boss. And that was his way of trying to avoid the answer. Now, this is something that most of us will encounter as we have our daily communications with people that we're in relationships with. But one of the things that I always say is a couple things. First, anytime you engage in any type of relationship, or before you do engage in any type of relationship, you want to get to know yourself. Know with the good, the bad, the ugly, your strengths, your weaknesses, the things that make you exceptional, the things that make you, kind of a liability. But you want to know all your limitations. And when you're honest and brutally honest with yourself, that gives you freedom and the ability to be honest with other people. Now, here's the secret to that. When you're honest with other people, then you can actually start to see them for who they are. And the important part of seeing people for who they are, you don't try to look at people for who you want them to be, who you think they're going to be. You see them for who they are. And then you let that information inform your decisions as to whether you want to continue this relationship. If they're the kind of person who may not be in a particular situation, but they have the evolutionary mindset and vision and view of themselves where they're constantly trying to improve, constantly trying to get better, that buys them a little time, right? In a relationship game, that buys them a little time. But if they have all their ducks in a row, but they have a particular mindset and you see that in them, then you accept them for who they are. As Maya Angelou say, as many of the folks comment down below, when somebody tells you who they are, believe them the first time. Or as the great American philosopher and other poetic force within our country said, DMX, trust them to be them and trust yourself to know them when you see them. You have to be able to trust yourself. And part of you trusting yourself is you being honest with yourself. Kody had said from the beginning that this is the type of person that he wanted to be because he showed that this is what he admired and the type of power structure that he wanted. You can see the hunger in him. You can see the ambition. The ladies have to take the opportunity to pay attention to what he's putting out there so that they can make decisions for themselves and for their kids moving forward. That's my take. My name is James. This has been my take on reality, and I'm out.
'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side.